Good morning, everyone. We made it to Friday. It's getting close to the middle of June now, the 13th. Summer is a week away, the official orbital definition of summer coming up here. And on our visible satellite loop here this morning, we have still that really weak but pretty effective low pressure system in the upper atmosphere kind of churning away right along the Missouri-Arkansas border this morning. The jet stream is firing thunderstorms across the northern plains, generally not too severe yet. But this area out here, it needs to be watched for several days in a row. Actually, let me narrow that down a little bit. It's more like that. And the pattern is changing, as I've been indicating on this video, that we're getting a little bit more into summer mode now, where the severe weather emphasis is shifting north and northwest a little bit in our country. And we'll show you all those outlooks here in a minute. Here's the morning radar loop, and it shows some pretty active thunderstorms in Tennessee and Kentucky. You can see that swirl on even in the radar echoes, you can see that low moving across Missouri. And this time of year, you got enough instability to get thunderstorms along the back edge of these. A lot of times, if that were happening in the winter or the cool season, those would just be showers. But they're a little more convective there through Oklahoma, and some thunderstorms down here. Now, this area, generally speaking, could see some severe weather today, but it's not the highlight. It's not the emphasis area for today. Next 2 days on the HRR simulated radar shows that this is moving away, this upper level feature. We're getting coastal thunderstorms and then that activity today. And then watch out in Montana and in the high plains, we get some scattered supercells developing out in that area. And that is, like I said, a common theme, not just for the next 2 days, but a little bit beyond. Take a look at Friday here. They have gone and pulled the trigger on an enhanced 3 out of 5 chance of severe weather right in the heart of Montana today. That's mostly going to be, well, it could be any of the modes. There's even a slightly elevated tornado risk up there. And this is ahead of that upper level system here, that level 1. And then on the back edge of that low here, there could be some activity. And then a large area of 2 out of 5 risk from the panhandle looping back to that maximum area in Montana. We can take a closer look at that here. So Billings, Helena, both in the enhanced area today for severe thunderstorms as the jet stream kind of punches in here with a little more vigor. And unstable area this time of year can get all the way back and loop up into the high plains and into Montana. The tornado outlook for today has a 5% risk for June. That's actually saying something. And you can see it coincides with the enhanced area. So that's what they're looking at, an enhanced risk of tornadoes in parts of central Montana today. If we look at Nadocast, it agrees with that. It also puts a little maximum there in northeast Colorado, maybe parts of Nebraska and Wyoming as well. And interestingly, on the back edge of this low, they found some evidence that 2% tornado risk there in eastern Oklahoma and around Fort Smith. Again, these are pretty low probabilities, but what this does is it's a machine learning device. So it not only takes a look at current data and a lot more data, actually a lot more model input into this one, and also looks at what happened in the past during similar types of occurrences. If we look at the SIPS model, this is run out of the St. Louis University. It agrees with the emphasis for severe weather out west, and generally speaking, out ahead of that upper level feature. And then CSU does have that tornado risk up there in Montana, and sometimes this thing goes a little bit higher than the SPC. In this case, the SPC has trumped that forecast a little bit and gone a little bit higher in central Montana, where there's a pretty high hail risk too, and also wind probability up in that part of the world as well. If we go ahead to Saturday, not much changes except for, it's the overall broad pattern still exists on the high plains here. There's just no level 3 activity yet. Montana settles down a little bit, but the emphasis for thunderstorms will be from Nebraska looping back into Montana, parts of South Dakota, and Wyoming as well. And there is a 2% tornado risk in that general area, almost up to Billings, and then getting back down into Rapid City area and down into parts of Nebraska as well. We'll take a look at the CSU idea of where tornadoes will be. They're emphasizing parts of the Dakotas, whereas the hail risk is in the Dakotas and in Montana, and might be a slight high wind risk there in Montana left over as well. On Sunday, it looks very much the same with a level 2 out of 5 in that same South Dakota, Nebraska area. It shifts very, very little. But it is shifting. The tornado risk is moving a little bit out into parts of Minnesota. But again, these are all pretty low probabilities, 2% on Sunday, with a pretty high hail probability being indicated by the CSU model up in central Montana. Again, not speaking very highly of widespread wind damage. Now, this is interesting. The SPC has pulled the trigger on at least a couple of these 4 to 8 day outlooks beginning on Monday, which is unusual for them to do, especially as we get into the more of the summer months. But they're feeling pretty strongly about a 15% risk of any type of severe weather right in the heart of South Dakota, pure South Dakota, Sioux Falls, Minneapolis in that risk area. The 500 millibar flow from Monday does show a ridge of high pressure down here and extending into Kansas. So that's just hot and dry weather there. But notice that the jet stream winds are generally kind of strong here and are moving west to east across the Dakotas. That's all we need this time of year to get severe thunderstorms forming up in this part of the world. And a lot of times this time of year, we start getting into the ratios where we get these lines of storms that can form and progress. And again, not a specific forecast for that, but I'm just telling you that in the past, when you see a pattern like that this time of year, that's a lot of times what happens. On Tuesday, it doesn't really move a whole lot. It shifts into the heart of Nebraska, parts of northern Kansas. So Omaha and Lincoln are in that, Scotts Bluff, North Platte, Nebraska, all under that severe weather possibility for Tuesday. The jet stream flow on Tuesday looks a little more spread out, but again, enough upper level wind energy exists here to be able to support supercells. So that's all we need. And then on Wednesday, it shifts. So southern Wisconsin, Madison, Milwaukee, Des Moines in this, right along the Mississippi River, Illinois-Iowa border, so Dubuque and Quincy, parts of northeast Missouri, not quite to Chicago yet on that Wednesday forecast, 15% risk of storms on that day as well. Let's take a look at NIU's model. So this is looking for supercells for the next 7 days. Today included, and it does put a few more out in Kansas and Oklahoma than any outlook is indicating, so I find that to be kind of interesting. That might be tagging on the back end of that upper level load that is progressing across Missouri right now. Again, this is it's not only 7 days of outlooks, but it's accumulation, so part of this might be more valid during one part of the week than another. So I think this activity is more valid today and maybe tomorrow, whereas this activity here is certainly speaking a little bit deeper into that 7-day forecast. On June 20th through the 26th, week 2, so that's getting pretty late in June now, still kind of an axis, kind of a surprising north-south axis of severe weather, but it does highlight those areas. Well, actually, those are not part of any of the forecasts, but it is suggesting that, again, the same areas that we were just talking about, Nebraska, northern Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, not Missouri, but Minnesota, South Dakota, might be under the gun, and then it certainly does shift more north, June 27th through July 3rd now. Still a lot of supercell potential up across the northern plains, which is where you expect severe weather to be, if it's going to be anywhere, as we get into early July. And then the last thing I'll look at is the EPS. These are the weeklies. So this is basically just an average of what the 500 millibar flow will look like through this period, June 15th through the 22nd. And so that starts on Sunday. And you should see a kind of a troughing situation out west, but generally just kind of a broad west to east flow across the northern plains. This is a return to summer, so this is just a ridge of high pressure on average. That would mean more heat is finally returning in a more summer-like pattern. But as typical in the summer, you do see the jet stream pretty active across the northern U.S. That's what's triggering all that severe weather. And then as far as dew points are concerned, this is just comparing them again to the mean. So much of the central and northern U.S. Seeing slightly above normal dew points on average through that weekly period. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day 1 because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.